Let's look at special GL transactions in SAP Financial Accounting. Special GL transactions are special transactions in accounts payable and accounts receivable that's displayed separately in the general ledger and sub-ledger. Now let's look at the keywords here. They are special transactions. Now we'll see what are those special transactions later in this slide. In accounts payable, which is dealing with your vendors, and accounts receivable, which is dealing with your customers. That is displayed separately. So it's not part of your normal financial statements. It's going to be displayed in a separate line item in the GL and the sub-ledgers. You know, the sub-ledger is your accounts payable and accounts receivable. General ledger is your main ledger. All your customers and vendors are in your sub-ledger, and they have a reconciliation account linking to your accounts payable and accounts receivable account. Now what are examples of these special transactions? Down payments and down payment requests. So down payment, sometimes you might purchase an item from a vendor, or before purchasing an item, the vendor might ask you to make an advance payment. The advance payment is mostly the common term we use, but in SAP the word used will be down payment. So you make that down payment or this advance payment, and then later once you receive the item you can make the balance payment. Similarly, for customers also, you can request the customer to make you an advance payment or a down payment. Now before you make a down payment, you can ask them to give you the vendor might ask you to make a down payment, so that request is called the down payment request. So there's no actual financial transactions happening in this down payment request. It is just a request, maybe a letter or by email or over the phone. But we also note down this request also in SAP. So it reminds us that there is a pending down payment to be made. Let's look at bills of exchange. Now bills of exchange sometimes is called as promissory notes. Is just a written order by someone to another party saying that we will make a payment on this date. So I just given a short definition here: a written order with a promise of payment. That's all. Just like a legally binding letter saying that one person to another person that we'll make a payment by this date. That is called a bills of exchange. Payment request, just like we mentioned earlier, it's like it can be a down payment request or any type of payment request. The vendor might ask you to make a payment or overdue payment. Any kind of request is called a payment request. Again, for requests, there are no financial transactions. It's just a note in the system. Guarantees, there can be bank guarantees. Sometimes for a customer, you might want to sell a large amount of item, but you might be afraid that the customer might not be able to make the payment. So you can request a customer to get a bank guarantee. So from the customer's local bank, the bank can give a guarantee saying that this customer has enough financial capability to meet the payments, and the bank is guaranteeing the customer's liability. In case the customer is unable to make the payment, the bank will make the necessary payments. So those are things which can be called guarantees. Reserves for bad debt. For example, you might keep aside some amount expecting that some customers will not be able to pay the balance amounts required. So this is called bad debt. Also security deposits, some fixed term deposit or any kind of deposits which you might just keep aside. It will be displayed as a separate line item in the general ledger, not in the standard line items. We'll have a look at it later in the slides. Now how are the special general ledger transactions posted? For example, we can see if you have a balance sheet, you will have assets and you have liabilities. So you have your current assets and fixed assets. So current assets, you will have your cash, inventory, other accounts receivable and so on. And in that you will have another line item for down payments. So this is a line item which I am mentioning that will be mentioned as a separate line item, because you need to know in your balance sheet that how much is you have made as a down payment, or how much the customers have made as a down payment, or what are the bills of exchange you have made, or what are the security deposits. All this information you need to note down as separate line items. So this can be easily identified in the financial statements. So we see how